All right, so we've got a nice little island here. I'm just going to hit 0 to kind of snap that into place and then just sort of drive in a little bit here. Let's take a look at an easier way. In the past, I showed you when we go to selection mode here and we go to, BPR nature and I go to foliage and assets and blah, blah, blah. And I grab some grass and I drop it on here. And you might be wondering, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. Well, inside of selection mode, there's actually a foliage brush here and we can add foliage and just by clicking this little plus sign that says foliage here. And I'm just going to click on, for example, SM grass here. And then when I go to my paint options here and I look at my environment, we can start to look at things like, well, is it a static mesh, a BSP brush? We check on foliage because this is foliage here. And then we can actually go in here and start thinking about, well, how do we paint this into our scene, right? On our landscape environment, rather. And so you want to make sure that if you don't have this checked on, because this is going to say which ones you want to add. So for example, say we want to add that, and we also want to add maybe we'll go, let's just quickly, and again, you could just fast forward parts of the videos. Let's go to Fab really quick and just type in flower, because the grass is going to be kind of boring. And come on, Fab, pop up. I'll pause the video and let this load. There you go. It took me a second. So let's just type in flower. And then I'm going to click 3D, and then I'm going to be a little bit of a cheapskate and just do price free. And let's see, these could be nice. I'm just looking for things that could mix in well with my grass. And so I think these are cool. These little, and again, spend some time on your assignment. Like here, these yellow, I think they're Venusian flowers. And I'm just going to add to cart or buy now. Oh, I have to select the license, sorry, personal, and then add to project. And I'll just let that add to project just to show you. And I'm going to go ahead and hit plus here, and I'm going to look for that yellow. Actually, what might be interesting is this something that we can add? Oh yeah, we can. So I just dragged it in there because when I hit the plus for foliage, I didn't see it immediately, and I'm sure it's in here somewhere. And just go ahead and make sure both of these are checked on. And now when I paint in my scene, and you can control your brush size if you make it pretty good, you can see now, as I zoom in here, it paints them across the surface, right? And it does a nice mix of both, right? And you could do paint density, eraser density, things like that. And, just kind of, and as you select each one of these, you could see there's options here, right? Like it says, here, let's go up here for a second. Density for the grass, for example, 500, right? So let's say I make this 0, just as an example, and I click here. Notice there is no grass. So this is how you mix. You do like a nice mix between them both is by playing with the density amount. So if we go back to up here, the density is only 100 for our, let me shrink that. So density is only 100 for this. And then this is obviously going to have more because it's grass, right? So this is the 500 here. So let's say I'm like, you know what? I would like to, my design is there's more flowers towards the bottom, but as I go up the hill, there's just grass. So I could select my, these flowers here, and I could see, what, the density's gone down to 50 here. So I'm going to click 50, boop, and just let it add to that, right? Oops, sorry, I'm kind of painting as I'm going. I'm going to do that. And then it gets down to maybe 10 when I get up here. And so now when I press play, you can see we have this really beautiful foliage, which looks like I kind of somehow, let's go back to selection mode. I somehow messed up my player start. So let's hit F to focus on our player start here, and let's bring this way up so that we are not below the earth. And whenever you see bad size, that means it's intersecting with some sort of collision. So let's press play here, and you can see here, like, wow, we are getting some really beautiful environment going on, right? We can do a waterfall here. And again, we haven't gotten into the full game design where we're talking about these different game design theorists. We're just kind of learning the tools, but this should make you feel empowered, right? To start to play with stuff. And this is the same thing before. If I go to my foliage, actually, I forgot to save for a while. Had to interrupt that stream of consciousness or that thought for that. But if I go to our foliage here, let's grab these pine trees and turn that on. And then for our pine tree density, right, it says 1, right? I mean, let's do 50. And then for the radius, let's really space this out. Let's do 10. And then what we should get is spaced out trees. You might want to space out even more. So let's actually do less than, let's do 5, and we'll do 20 here. I just want to show you how this radius works. So let's do a radius of 100. And I click here. You can see there is our 5 tree. Well, actually, it's more than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Huh. Didn't do, it did actually did 16. So I guess density is less about the number and more about the, um, let's see here. So here's 3. So like maybe 2 would be 6. Let's see. It's been a bit since I've played with this. And there's 9 there. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I think I understand this now. It's based on the brushstroke. So if I do 0.5 here for density, you can see I get 2. And then if I do 1, which is my full brushstroke, you could see I get 4. Is that right? Let's see. Let's go to selection mode. So yeah, this is based on just brushstroke and not less about that. Yeah, so you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 streets. So you want to think about this between 0 and 1, but if you go higher than that, you're just multiplying that brushstroke. So it's less about number and it's about brushstroke, which is fine. I've seen that, Unity's done something similar. But you could see too, which is nice, is that it's bringing that in. And you might just be like, well, you know what? I want to, let's go back to foliage here. I don't want the flowers at the base. I just want the grass. Or if you want to pull down a nice dirt material. So this is looking pretty good, right? And then we could, if you hold down the left mouse button, you could just kind of paint this all over, So something like that. And I'm actually painting on the landmass in the water, which is kind of cool too. So let's undo all that. And maybe just place some more over here. Maybe a few more on the underside here. And let's press play and wander around and see how this looks. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. And I mean, and this is a nice, quick way of doing it. And if you're an environment artist, this is what's cool about this is, here, let's escape out of this and just go to selection mode so we don't get that error. What's nice is you could focus on doing things like making the actual grass, making the actual trees, if you have a specific one for like an alien world or something. And then we're going to build a house and place it in this level, like in this class. Like we're going to learn about modeling and a little bit more advanced modeling, probably in Blender than here. And we'll place that in the scene. Even though there is modeling tools in here, I think it's generally good to work inside of Blender. All right, something else I want to show you is, let's see, that would be very useful, is adjusting the scale randomly of your foliage. So let's uncheck all of these except for maybe this flower, because I think these flowers will be the pretty good indication you could see. You can see here there is essentially a, let's go to advance here. Let's see. We want to be under our painting section, which is here. Here's painting, sorry. Yes, so scale X, you could see the min max is 1 and 1. So this is the way that it was modeled. So let's say we want to do a max of 10. Now, when I go to paint this, you could see it's going to randomly add flowers that are between size 1 and size 10. So you can see here we've got like little guys, some little ones here, and then we have some really big ones here. And as our character's running around, that might add some real interest to the way our game is run, because we're like, whoa, what are all these monster? Is the nuclear reactor up here in our game? And maybe it's not, or maybe in your particular video game, it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where the player is shrunk down. And something else that might be cool that I haven't introduced you to when we were doing the landscape portion of the class. So let me actually undo those foliage there. Is you see how it was kind of hard for me to get up here because of this slant? There's another tool inside of landscape, and it's this ramp. And what you can do here is it gives you a ramp width, which is, we'll check that out. But as I click and I left click and drag, I can actually move this up and I can build out a ramp if there's an area of your level where you're like, you know what, I really want them to be up there, but it's hard for my player. And then inside of here, you can hit add ramp, and you could see it added me a nice little ramp going up there. And then you can go with your sculpting brush and sculpt that out. So this is a nice way of adding like a little ramp if you find that it's hard for your player to get up to certain locations. It's also a visual indicator, seeing that triangle, where it's like, oh, I'm supposed to go up there. So it's a good way of guiding your player as well. So you can add one ramp going this way, and then we can add another ramp going off to the right-hand side. Again, I should have went even further deeper into the hill, but I'll leave that as is. Or actually, we can always undo it and redo that. So just the reason I bring that up is because level creation is a combination of a bunch of things. Like you'll go in and you'll be like, you know what, I don't like the way the depth of this water is. So let me select this little node here, and I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to look through, and I think there is a option literally called depth, yeah, which is this one right here. And I could say, you know what, I want this to be 1,000 deep, which might be too deep, but you could see that really carved it or pushed it into the floor there. um, or if it's too low, right? Like say our depth is only 10, you'll see that more of the landscape, right? Unless you want it to be like a trickling sort of like little water that's coming out of there, right? So there's a lot of things we can do to make beautiful environments, and real environment artists use this. You don't have to make every single thing from scratch if you're interested in being an environment artist. It's just important that you build these big, beautiful scenes, but you can also show that you have great modeling skills. So that's why I said we'll probably model a cabin, or we'll figure out something cool for this. Again, gonna save often because Unreal, just like all other content creation tools, loves to crash. And I think trying to think of the last few tools that I should show you before. I think another one that I haven't shown you, which is probably important, is if you're gonna paint something, you should also have an eraser. So the eraser here will bring our brush size down. You can kind of go through it and just kind of erase what's there, and then make sure that you have everything you'd like erased checked off, or checked on rather. So I can go in here now and just kind of erase patches of that grass. See that? So now it doesn't feel, or a lot of times underneath these trees, you can also play with your brackets and control the brush size. And there I erased that. Let me undo the check for the tree here. Because what happens generally underneath trees is because the tree is sucking up all the water, you'll notice there isn't a lot of grass around the tree itself. But I mean, below the tree, there might be like a lot of there's like a brown dead zone of dirt, and that's when you would go into your landscape tool and then paint in maybe some brown dirt. So like, let's do that really quick. So landscape, and then let's go to or not yeah, landscape, and let's do uh, mesh paint. Let's see, and here's our sculpt. I think we have to have our landscape actually selected. There we go. And now we go to our landscape tool. Let's see, we got our paint, our alpha brush here. Here we go, paint tab. And let's go ahead and select our dirt. And what I'm going to do is just bring my brush way down. And then tool strength up a little bit, and then just kind of paint that in. And then what I could do around that is just start painting in, go back to foliage, select my grass. Again, just showing you different ways of doing this. Maybe I'll just paint some grass around this. Make sure we're not on our eraser. There we go, just kind of clicking around. And then that starts to feel a little bit more natural, right? So we press play, we walk over there. See, like, where's that tree at? It's over here. You can see this starts to feel, I mean, aside from the bright green, neon green grass. So it starts to feel a little bit more natural. And we do want some connectivity. Like if this was an apple tree, we'd want to put apples on the floor. Just good level design um, ideas, right? Like you always want something visually connecting. Like this still feels like it's not completely connected to the land. And the reason for that is because we don't have like pine nuts from the tree falling, or leaves, or something that connects this visually. And again, you might not care. Like the player might not care either. You might have a bunch of warriors around here that the main player is supposed to battle. All right, one more thing. Sorry, I know I keep saying that. Let's take a look at, let's look at our foliage here, and then let's see, assets. We have our SM grass, right? So let's go to materials, and let's see if we could find our grass material. So this is foliage master, and let's see, tree leaves. Let's go into ML grass here and see. Let's see, advanced material properties override. See if we could find the master grass material. Is that this one right here? Yes, and you could see here that it already has some sort of information here that allows it to look like the grass is swaying, which is good. So that's what I'm looking for. So let's check out our other material, this yellow pecunia flowers, and let's go into the materials here. And here's our leaves. This is the flower itself. Let's see textures, static mesh. Let's see bark yellow. I think that looks pretty good. I just wanted to see because some of the Quixel materials, and we'll have to I'll have to find one and bring it in. You can actually enable or disable the wind, and this looks like it's sort of done through like a wave, sort of a wave vertex way of adjusting it versus some of the other Quixel materials actually have it where maybe the tree could sway. Let's see if we could do that, turn that on. If not, here's Mega Scan surfaces. Let's see. These are the textures. And I'm going to pause it and just bring up my tree really quick. All right, so let's open this up and let's see into our tree. Here, let's see. This is the foliage type. So let's go to assets. Let's go to our tree here. And then I'm going to look at this pine, see how these are sort of moving and stuff. If I go ahead and browse to my pine tree, right? Um, we're looking for LM pine leaves, tree leaves. So let's close that out and then let's see here. So if I open up this material, this is kind of what I want to show you. And we go to our global scale parameter values. You can see they actually have a wind intensity and wind height here. And with this, you could adjust it like say you're in a storm. And when you go to save that and we go back into our level, you'll notice that these tree leaves are going to move a little bit more sporadically. Do you see that? And so that could, again, you could adjust that depending on how much, attention you want to bring to those trees. So just that's an extra parameter I want to show you. It's not built into all of the things that you'll download from Quixel or Fab, but it's on many of them because it's based on whoever built this and if they wanted that as to be an option. And yeah, that's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and painting foliage, and I can't wait to see what environments you all come up with.